Right, hello there everybody, welcome back to ACFC, and that was a really rough 17 days, but don't worry, we've all survived it. Club football has returned in the quite glamorous shape of the Club World Cup. Now I know there's a lot of discourse about it at the minute, what with the tiredness and the attendances and whatever the hell this was supposed to be, but just let's not forget, guys, this is the very same competition where Man United got absolutely humiliated by a Brazilian centre-forward who was, at the time, in quite serious hot water with a number of animal welfare groups because he'd allegedly gone and got a chimpanzee mortal drunk at a child's birthday party. So I don't want to hear that it hasn't got history. I don't want to hear that it hasn't got pedigree. Ange Postecoglou was once rocking his best ever shagger stepdad look, managing in the thing. So one way or another, the Club World Cup always tends to be absolutely mad. And tell me that based on what you've seen so far, that's not currently how it feels. So I'm locked in. But anyway, yes, Chelsea, the thing you actually clicked on, they started their pursuit of whatever this is supposed to be with a debatably comfortable 2-0 win over Los Angeles FC. And making his debut off the bench in that match was Liam Delap. Now, because I had the audacity to take a holiday when he signed for Chelsea in the first place, I've not actually yet done a Liam Delap video, and I thought in that small cameo, you saw precisely what it is he does and precisely why Enzo Maresca wants a bit of that for Chelsea. And there's nothing else on, so alright, now, so before we begin, please allow me to welcome the channel's first ever big sponsors, DAZN, as well as being the official broadcast partners of the Club World Cup. They're our official broadcast overlords for while we're covering the Club World Cup. Which is really nice for me because it means I get to use the match footage in high definition without then getting dragged into a 3-day-long exchange of emails with other broadcasters where I have to remind them what fair use means. Hooray! And just to put your mind at ease, because I know people hear the word sponsorship and they're worried that stuff's gonna change, like it's gonna be so incredibly subtle. These guys have a total feather touch. You will barely even notice it. Anyway, what? Right, so yes, this was the Chelsea 11 that started the game against LAFC. I think we're all a little bit surprised, given that like Jackson and Palmer and loads of them had been playing like less than 7 days ago, how strong it was. But regardless, this was the team. But in the something minute that I forgot to make a note of before I started recording, 62nd, 63rd, I'll check that in a little bit, Liam Delap makes his debut off the bench. And in doing so, creates the goal that seals the game. Now, I'm going to break down exactly what it is he does in that goal. Because while it's an assist, and you just assume that you buy centre-forwards to score, not to make goals, what he does here is actually such a good example of who he is as a player. But before we get to that bit, Chelsea's 4-2-3-1 was actually, of course, not a 4-2-3-1 because it had special mission Marc Cucurella. He is my absolute favourite inverted defender because he does not invert into the middle like a nerd would, but he inverts all the way into the attacking line and the defence kind of steps across in behind him, and he plays this sort of like left back, left wing 8/10 role, and he's getting to maybe be the best in the world at it. And one thing I did personally really enjoy about this game was that the camera angle in the stadium was so high that when Chelsea did get into this 3-2-5 shape, there were occasions where you could see the whole thing from back to front in one shot on telly. And I know exactly what you're thinking. You wouldn't be the first person to say it. And the answer is probably, but no, I've never actually had it diagnosed. Anyway though, yes, so Delap. Nicholas Jackson, to me, looked very much like a player who for the first time in 2 years does feel like his place is under threat, was doing a lot of work off the ball, was dropping into positions you very rarely see him drop into, but as a result, felt like he struggled to impose the Nicholas Jackson game on this game. And the reason he'll have been trying to show so willing to run into these spaces and get onto the ball is because when Liam Delap came on, he showed you exactly how that's done. Chelsea have the ball down the right with Palmer and Neto, and you can see this is not a particularly structured attack. You wouldn't say there's any sort of real shape to it. It's a lot more transitional. They've very recently just gone and got the ball back, so it's all a bit disorganized. But regardless, LA are pretty well set. They've got both their defensive line here and their midfield line here back in their own half. Neither of them are sort of the wrong side of the ball. And now normally, Nicholas Jackson is brilliant in these situations because he runs in nice straight lines. He would normally keep this run going directly towards goal and either peel off for Palmer to try and clip it over to the back post, which is obviously very tricky, but it's not impossible, or end up running himself offside, but in the process, create even more room in this space between the lines as the defender initially, before letting him go, goes with him. And those are pretty much the two things off the ball he's really good at. But the thing is, this being a transition, they haven't really got the support to benefit from any of that. So Delap, who's in the team at this point, does something I don't think I've seen Nicholas Jackson ever do. Seeing Neto wants to come infield into this space, he spins out into the channel. He's still making a run in behind, which is what Jackson would have done, but Delap's not doing it into a goal-scoring position. He's just doing it into empty space. And the impact of him doing that is it turns LA's defensive line here, which is the shape this is supposed to be, into a defensive, like, backwards Z, if there's a word for that. What do you call it, backwards Z? An S! Ah, you see? And that has now, as a result, created these two pockets of space in the box which didn't previously exist. And better yet, Chelsea also have a player completely unpressurized on the ball in the final third. Like, just from this position here where nothing is on to this situation here where several things could be because of his selection of run. You've got a pocket of space at the near post that Neto could conceivably get into and receive the ball, and this much juicier pocket at the back that's, ah yes, there's Enzo Fernandez now steaming into. The ball in is absolutely perfect, the finish is really good, 2-0, game pretty much done. Welcome to the Liam Delap show. Nicholas Jackson got a grand total of 5 assists for Chelsea last season, and literally only like, I think 2 since October, and pretty much all of them would like this. Counter-attacking situation, him down the very center of the goal, player breaks slightly ahead of him, and he can play it forward. Like, I think he is really, really good in those straight line situations, but straight line situations tend to be the easiest to defend, so you need to mix that up. But Delap, on the other hand, is literally, you can just see in this one clip, is a completely different player. Like, if we look at Nicholas Jackson's seasonal heat map from last season, you will see it's so heavily concentrated down the centre of the pitch, which, yes, fair enough, he is a centre forward, but like we said, you've got to be able to mix stuff up, and he so rarely does. But while Jackson is making all these straight line runs down the middle, you look at Delap's instead, and you can see, yeah, still, there's absolutely box presence here, knows where he's supposed to go to finish off the chances, but look at the concentration in this exact channel here. Like, given how much Ipswich was struggling to make any kind of chances last season, he had to spend so much of his time pulling off into these areas to try and create a little bit of space to somehow make something happen. But he is really good specifically at doing that. Like, it's absolutely not a coincidence that the first contribution he makes in a Chelsea shirt comes from this exact area of the pitch, having spun out around a defender to get on the ball. Like, he literally did his Ipswich job in that game, and Chelsea have immediately benefited from it. So is that it, Adam? Is that what he does? You spend all that money and he just makes these like spin-off runs into the channels? No, not always. There are other things he does which are really good. It's a very similar attacking situation for Chelsea, most of the same players coming down the same side of the pitch, but he quite rigidly this time stays right in the middle. He instead has to use what people refer to as his gravity, which is just the very existential dread your presence alone creates in defenders, and how that then sort of sucks them a few yards closer towards you because they're worried about what you might do. And then obviously you get the idea, if they're moving a few yards closer to you, it means they're moving a few yards further away from somebody else, and that might give them a bit more space. And Delap does that, or has that, way more than Jackson does. So you can see as they enter the final third, this is his marker, and yeah, he's in the right spot, but you definitely say The other centre-back is too close to him. He's left this little gap here, meaning a pass into Neto would give him more room in behind this defender to play with. And then even if you look at the very bottom of the screen there, the right back, I think he's probably a little bit too close as well. So if this ball comes sailing over the top for a run from Tyreek George, he is almost certainly going to get caught under it. And as much of like an intangible as that is, like it's very hard to quantify how much gravity you have. That's a big part of the player Liam Delap is. Like, we do not know yet what kind of a prolific goal scorer he is, because Ipswich was so bad at creating any kind of chances last season. We simply don't know what happens if you put him in a team where stuff's getting laid onto him. But what we do know is that he makes these runs excellently, and he makes loads of space for his teammates, either through those or just by being scary. And I don't want to gloss over his shooting numbers from last season, because if we do look at it, they are slightly concerning. Like, the shot volume is not high, because obviously Ipswich aren't creating very much for him. But even of the chances he was getting, the clinicity, the accuracy, like how much he was maximising those, was still pretty low. Now, I personally think that's because he was largely getting quite low quality chances. I very rarely remember Ipswich gifting him anything. So I don't massively think these are all his fault, but this is something he's going to have to improve upon. He may do it very easily, he may not. But what should really encourage you if you're a Chelsea fan are these numbers, which really do stand out. Like, given just how little of the ball Ipswich was seeing in attacking areas, that he was one of the highest rated forwards in Europe. These aren't just the Premier League, these are all of the top 5 leagues in Europe for taking on opponents, beating them, running into the penalty area, running into the final third. Like, that is pretty extraordinary. And you can see why he's so good at that in this game, because there's a great moment right after he comes on where he executes the lesser spotted triple bluff on an opponent. Chelsea have got the ball deep, and he feigns to go in behind, which obviously the defenders will know that he likes to do, but then he goes, "Nah, actually, mate, just kidding, I want it short so I can get to it and take you on." So the defender, oh no, panics, he's gonna go the other way, scrambles to recover, and in the ensuing scramble, he goes, "Nah, psych, I actually did want it in behind all along," and gets in behind. And I know you're the clever sort, so if you saw those take-on numbers, you were thinking, hang on, big burly strapping centre forwards got some of the highest like take on success percentages of the forwards in Europe. Isn't that the kind of stat you associate with a more like sort of dainty technical player? What's he doing with those numbers? And it's pretty simple actually. Like, Liam Delap gets past players very easily because he's a fucking tank. He gets past you largely because you just bounce off him, and then his technique is too good for you to get back and recover. And Opta, and you're gonna like this, put this graph out when he was getting linked to Chelsea, right? And it's every single attempted like duel he had with another player across the course of the season. There's 418 of these, making it the most of any forward in the Premier League. He was the most combative attacking player in the division. Now, a quick note of caution about this, his win percentage for them is actually strangely low. Like, it's only 38% of these he wins. He loses way more than he wins. But again, you saw in the LA game why that is. Like, his first contribution in a Chelsea shirt was to lose the ball, which, okay, fair enough, can happen. Guy came from the other side, maybe didn't see him, but then he goes charging into somebody else and just shoves him over when he's got no real chance of getting the ball back. Like, the 38% number here is not because he's bad at them, it's because he constantly selects them badly. I would say Liam Delap wins every single duel he can possibly win. The problem is he just has twice as many that he's got no right to be going in for. This is the thing, if you're Enzo Maresca, you work really hard, in my opinion, on developing. Because if you can just sort of like curb that instinct he's got to fight everybody and have him pick and choose who he's battling with, you might have Drogba. In a way, sort of. But yes, that is how I would explain the very concept of Liam Delap using Chelsea to LAFC 0 in their first game of the Club World Cup, which, you know, I think if Chelsea were playing a slightly better team there was little moments like this. I think that Flamengo game could be pretty tasty. And of course, while I am contractually obligated to remind you that today's video was sponsored by our very good friends at DAZN and that you can watch every single game of the Club World Cup for free by signing up to DAZN in the link in the description, I'd just like to point out, I would tell you to do that anyway, because this is the Club World Cup. And something mad's gonna happen. Lads, there was 3 red cards in the Boca Juniors Benfica game last night. We've already had a 10-0, and if attendances keep going the way they're going, they might start walking all the fans out individually instead of just the players. You think I'm missing any of that? And of course, if you are in the mood to be clicking things while you're on the video, then the subscribe button is right there. And I don't know if any of you picked up on this, but did just hit the old 100,000 subscribers mark on the channel, which is quite nice given we're like 10 weeks into it, etc. So thank you very much if you've already done that. You can congratulate me. Why the hell not? At Adam Clery, Clery on all the various different socials. And if you are a Chelsea fan, your job in the comments is Liam Delap your first choice centre forward, or is he merely depth of squad? Are you still a Jackson guy at heart, like Tito? I think that's what, is that what one of them was called? I can't remember. That's the worst joke I'll ever do, so I'm going to say goodbye there. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.